We've hit the next milestone in this sequence here and put in the breakdown poses. The last video you saw, I was really concentrating on the 4 key poses. And as a reminder, this is the sequence or the animation that would play in my mind when the character or the player hits, say, a ready button in a game like Heroes of the Storm or something. He's chosen his character and I'm ready to play, bam, and then this is the animation that would play. So the first thing that I did was go back to each one of the key poses. This is the first one. And I just kind of tried to improve them as much as I could, get them exactly where I wanted them, again, looking good from all angles. And I feel pretty good about this one. This one I don't think I messed with too much. I may have done a little bit of rotation here to change it, but for the most part I was pretty happy with that pose. The next pose, if I move over here, this is kind of the crouching pose, getting ready to jump up in the air. You can see kind of the difference here. I have the pose moves to screen right. She turns, actually twists her body a little bit away from the camera. I think I had this more straight on before, something like this. So I did turn that a little bit. And really this is, if you think of a spring, my intended purpose of this particular pose is she's kind of winding up, right? Because what I want her to do is to actually spin in the air. So she's kind of coiling up like a spring here on frame 25. And then at 42, she's up in the air, and I just wanted kind of this graceful, pose with this nice arc through it. And then 65 was the final pose. This is the one I probably changed the most. I really couldn't get something that I was really happy with until I finally brought her right arm down. I had it up here in the air, and there was something that just didn't ring right about it. I couldn't figure it out. But once I brought it down and I had her facing a little bit more towards camera, I thought it felt much better. So those were the 4 poses that we started off with. And if we go back to this pose here, one thing I did as a breakdown going from 25 to 42 is right after this key, I decided to embellish this even further. Rather than spring right back up at this point, I had it go down, even coil up tighter. So this is my key pose, but this is the most extreme. So even though this is a breakdown, it's really an extreme pose. So once I have it go to that point, then I have her kind of lift off and spin in the air. And there we are there. Again, sort of the same idea here going to the next key is I did a little bit, of extra rotation there for a few frames before it comes back and settles down into this key. So once I have all this set up, and again, you can see now I've got a fairly smooth, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the spin, but a fairly smooth animation. Well, I started thinking before this ever happens, before the character hits play or ready or whatever, I'm going to need some kind of a idle transition at the beginning and at the end. So I just added 20 frames. So if this was my first key, prior to this key, I have another key that's super similar. And all that happens is kind of a weight shift and a little bit of a turn. So this animation, in my mind, would cycle while the game is waiting for the player to hit ready. And so I have that at the beginning, and then I also have that at the end. So if this was our end pose here, then I have it cycling to, say, this pose. Very, very similar pose, but we would just have it kind of cycle like that. So real quick, I guess let's just take a look at the whole thing in real time. Okay, well, I appreciate you watching. The next step here, I'll do another video here once I've gotten through kind of the polish stage. One thing I do want to make sure is this the spin is super smooth. You can see it's pretty clunky right in here. It doesn't look very smooth. So I want to make sure that's very smooth. I also want to go through all my curves in the graph editor and make sure everything's looking good there. I want to offset different parts. I want to make sure that the rotations in the chest aren't happening at the same time that, say, the rotation in the hips or maybe even the arms are happening. So you want to offset different parts of the body. It makes it feel more natural that way. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll be back soon with the last video in this sequence.